Hello there. What is going on, everyone? Today we're going to be talking about Star Wars Legion and what we might see coming fairly soon for the Republic faction, since, there's not a whole lot on the table for Republic in upcoming things that have been confirmed right now. There's a few, but not too many. So I thought I'd do my kind of maybe a wish list for me and what I think is going to be a couple of different units or expansions that we are likely to see in the not too distant future for the Republic faction. I've been doing kind of a series faction by faction, so if you want to see some more videos like that, I'll put a link over here at the end of the video. If you guys are new here to the channel, there's still a little bit of time left to enter to win the $25 Amazon gift card giveaway that we're running right now. You just have to be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my videos. And I also want to give a shout out to today's sponsor, Luxury Playstyle. Make sure you head over to luxuryplaystyle.com. Check out these amazing tokens. They're full metal, double-sided tokens for Star Wars Legion. You're going to love them. They are fully compatible with the game. They are gorgeous. They're going to make you want to play your game more. And they also have lots of tokens for different other games like Star Wars X-Wing or Arkham Horror or Keyforge. You check it out. You're going to love them. You're going to save 15% if you use code Crabbok VIP. So head over to Luxury Playstyle and check out those amazing tokens. They also make for great gifts as we're getting closer and closer to the gift-giving seasons. All right, so let's talk about Star Wars Legion and the Republic. There's not a whole lot confirmed for the Republic. We did have a Cody drop from at San Diego Comic-Con, although we haven't seen a whole lot of like more high-res images and more like widely distributed official stuff. It's been very, very small and few and far between for the Republic stuff. Now, we do know that Ahsoka is coming for the Rebellion, but during that big reveal, they also did kind of confirm that Ahsoka would also be coming for the clones for the Republic. They just said that she's going to be like not first, right? So the Rebels are getting her first, and then this will come afterwards. So this is already confirmed. So this isn't really part of my list, but I think Ahsoka is an important way to kind of remind us of things that are coming in the future. So I wanted to start off with a good old Ahsoka graphic up here. So I'm going to give you guys a couple of things, and I'll kind of go from maybe lower to higher as far in terms of priority. So I want to start off with somebody who's maybe maybe a fan favorite for some, maybe not at the top of a lot of people's lists, but I think would be an important character to add, and that's Wolf Yularen, Admiral Wolf Yularen, as they are in the Clone Wars. I think somebody like Wolf Yularen would be a fantastic addition to Star Wars Legion for the Republic because of the fact that it's more of a get down to business type of character, not one of these over the top characters, and certainly not a clone. One of the problems I think you run into when you're looking at characters to add to the Republic is you get too much into everybody is either a clone or a Jedi, right? And if you want to have a little bit of variety and kind of represent what the Republic is a little bit more, because yes, before the Clone Wars, the Republic did have a military, and it wasn't all clones and Jedi. The Jedi were few and far between. They weren't part of the military, and the clones didn't exist. So you had officers like Wolf Yularen that should still exist in this military because they are still there. And of course, as we know, Yularen is there long after as well. He actually decides to step down from being an admiral and join the ISB. So Wolf Yularen is also like a multi-talented individual. So when you were looking at like not civilians, but I should say like normal, non-cloned, non-magical humans, right, to be part of this warfighting effort, I think Yularen is a fantastic option because he's multi-talented. He can both command fleets. He also knows a lot of intel, and also he is kind of a fan favorite, very recognizable. So I think Yularen is a great fit to come into the game and also be one of those kind of I don't know, maybe administrative type characters. You have characters like that in the game for a lot of other factions, right? You've got your General Veers for the Empire. He's not the super crazy, but he's a great supporting type of character, and that's what he could be, that type of leader that's kind of stays in the back and shouts out orders and supports the Force. Kind of similar for Leia to an extent with the Rebels, although maybe the Rebel officer is probably a better example. He could be that type of we have generic clone commanders, but he could be more of that officer type character to show up in the game. Next up, Kit Fisto. Of course, you know, we did talk about the magical characters, and we got to go with the smiling Jedi himself. Kit Fisto, definitely a favorite of mine. Could be a very, very powerful character. Of course, he was one of the characters that did go after Palpatine in Episode 3, and wasn't immediately killed, but was eventually killed, fairly quick. But he's one of the stronger Jedi, one of the strongest, as a matter of fact, and also maybe the best in the water. And wouldn't it be cool if there was some kind of way they took advantage of his movement in water to be able to kind of give him some extra abilities in here? I could see a command card maybe doing that, but it would be tricky to have a character that sort of represents water being on the battlefield, because there's not a whole lot of stuff, since battlefields are so diverse and can be anything. I think it'd be really fun if he did have a command card that said, hey, if there's any water on the battlefield, boom, that'd be kind of taking a step outside of the box, because you might go an entire tournament without seeing any battlefield that has any water. But that could also be a push to maybe get more lakes, rivers, and streams and things like that on the battlefield. I think that could potentially work. I mean, we already have cards that reference barricades being on the battlefield, and those are hardly ever on the battlefield nowadays, although they used to be at the beginning of the game. So I don't know if it's too much of a stretch to reference water on the battlefield. But that wouldn't have to be what Kit Fisto is all about anyway. Could even be, hear me out, could even be a fourth command card option to come with him. So you could still get a normal 1, 2, and 3 pip, but maybe he gets a replacement 3 pip. Right? Just in that case that there happens to be, you want to take a gamble and say, you know what, if there is water, he's going to be able to like warp anywhere or something like that. That could be really cool. So I think that would be a really fun option for him, and that'd be a way to kind of make him stand out a little bit, because one of the problems you run into with Jedi is they can begin to feel too similar, and if you give them really cool fun abilities like that, that's another way to, I mean, granted, they're also cool just because they're cool minis, and FFG and AMG have done great jobs with the sculpts and making this game look and feel vibrant and awesome on your tabletop, and so another Jedi is awesome for its own reasons, but if you want to have even more, I think that could be a fun thing to add for somebody as cool and groovy as Kit Fisto. Next up, I want to see the rest of Domino Squad. I think Domino Squad would be a fantastic addition to this game. We already have Echo and Fives in the game, right? We already have them, but there was more members. If you remember the Domino Squad arc, you also had Droid Bait, Cut Up, and Heavy, and so wouldn't it be cool to come up with maybe either just the other 3? And then you take Echo and Heavy, and you kind of bring them in, or and have one of those kind of unit cards where you can add them all together, or maybe you just drop them all in and allow them to kind of split up. There's a lot of different ways they could do a combined unit like this. Out of all of them, I think Heavy's the one I'd probably want to see most, so I would say Heavy first. Heavy was definitely like my favorite early on. Of course, he didn't last too long, but he lasted longer than some other ones. Droid Bait and Cut Up didn't last too much longer, but I'd love to see Droid Bait, Cut Up, and Heavy show up in a way that we can actually get the Domino Squad back into the game. I think that'd be a pretty fun one to add, and because if they represent, if they're as they were in Domino Squad, you wouldn't have to make the unit themselves too strong. They could be kind of a weaker unit. Maybe that is at a lower point cost, because they're recruits, right? They're still in training, so maybe they don't benefit from the green token sharing rule yet, because they're still not working together as a cohesive team. Maybe they can't get green tokens. Maybe they have some kind of drawback, but they're cheaper as a result. Maybe you make new Fives and Echo cards just for this, representing them while they were still in training, or maybe you allow the existing Fives and Echo cards to go into this unit. I think there's a lot of different ways you could do it. Whether you want to do, and maybe even do 2 versions of each. Do a training version of the unit, and then do the grown version of the unit after they went on, or at least an extra version of Heavy. I think that could be a fun way to do things, and it'd be a great way to get some recognizable clones onto the battlefield. Next up, let's go for somebody who's not a clone, not a Jedi, Cham Syndulla. I think Cham Syndulla, granted I'm using a Bad Batch kind of screen grab from Cham, but it was a good screen grab. I just think Cham Syndulla riding a blurg, or with a couple of other, like a couple of other folks from Ryloth would be really, really cool. I'd love to see it. I think it could even be the beginning of a new battle force, but it doesn't have to be. I think Cham could work on his own. I'd love to see Cham, especially because you're in Legion, right? You're fighting on all of these different planets. Kind of when you build your board in these terrain, like how many times are you like setting up a place like, oh well, where are we fighting today? Oh, we're fighting on this planet or whatever. And like there's so many times where like look, maybe Cham's helping lead an insurgency against the separatists here. He's leading some freedom fighters, and the clones are helping him out, and they're trying to push borders back and get supplies through. He really, really fits the type of game that Legion kind of represents, and that small skirmish, not necessarily full scale, multi, 10 tanks versus 20 tanks kind of warfare. It's the smaller incursions that Legion usually represents. And I think Cham Syndulla would fit perfectly into this game, and you could do a lot of stuff with him to make him stand out and make him a little bit different. I think he'd be a fantastic addition. And again, also the thing is, you could be mounted or non-mounted. So I'd love to be able to see like a Cham Syndulla pack that has him riding a blurg, and one that has him on foot. Or you could just keep him on the blurg. That would be okay too. I think there's a lot of options for Cham. I think he'd be really, really fun. And maybe we'll see him someday. More aliens are always cool in these games too, right? Like, it's fun to paint aliens, especially with their different colored skin. Like how many of you picked up the recent speeder bikes for the Shadow Collective, right? Like the swoops, right? You had varieties of alien heads to put on there. It's so much fun to paint aliens. So that's all the more reason to do that. But yes, so a lot of different versions of Cham, and I'd love to see it. All right, so next up, the Bad Batch. Look, I was talking about Domino Squad. We have Echo in both versions, surprisingly enough. But I think the Bad Batch is even more in demand than Domino Squad. And I'm talking specifically about the Republic in this case. So I don't think we have to worry about, who's going to be in the Empire, who's going to be in the Rebels, and all this other stuff. No. Season 7 Clone Wars, they're all in the Republic. Let's start off with a Republic version of the Bad Batch as we saw them in Season 7. They're all working together. Echo doesn't have to be included, but he can be included. He wasn't there at the beginning, but he was there at the end, so you can still do Echo, right? I think you make them a Special Forces. I think you give them five heavy options, and you make all 5 of these different upgrade cards. And maybe we do a rule that you have to have at least 3, but you can have up to 5, or something to that effect. Or I don't know if you should have to run all 5, but I think you should certainly want to. And so I think you should be able to run them perhaps without Echo if you wanted to kind of be maybe early Bad Batch versus later Bad Batch. But I think that would be kind of a fun way to do it, and maybe, just maybe, you come up with a way that they can also run like individually. Also, there could be a lot you do with a Bad Batch expansion. You could have each character as their own individual character, and I think that would make it really fun if you have it to where, if you keep it pretty open and say you can run between 3 and 5 units in this Bad Batch Special Forces unit. They'd definitely be Special Forces, right? That leaves the door open to do a second Bad Batch like wave, where they're all individual characters. And so, if you wanted, if you wanted 1 or 2 of them to be like operatives, like doing their own thing, split up from the unit, then you can run 3, and then have Crosshair, as an operative or something like that. But in the same list, and so I think and then you can have command cards that reference the Bad Batch for all of them. I think there's so many different ways to do the Bad Batch, but I'd love to see a Special Forces unit that can take any 3. I think that'd be fun. I think that'd be pretty fun, and then leave the door open for extras. It could be super cool. I'd love to see it. There's so many possibilities, and of course, helmeted versions versus non-helmeted versions too would be really cool. I would love to also see. Hear me out. You know how they're holding their helmet right there? I'd love to see an alternate arm sculpt that's designed to hold the helmet for people who maybe don't want to put the helmet on, but want to have the helmet on the mini. Because a lot of times when a character has a helmeted versus an unhelmeted option, I will cut the kind of like the neck off of the helmet and kind of put the helmet on the base, so I still see the helmet, because a lot of the times the helmets have cool paint jobs, right? And so I want those where we're still on the base, and so like it'd be kind of cool if they were holding it as well. So that's kind of a fun option for the Bad Batch. All right, moving forward, Plo Koon. How cool would it be to get Plo Koon like out of the tank onto the battlefield? I always thought that Plo Koon was, one of the most important Jedi in the Clone Wars. Also, like with the whole the arc of not leaving, like when they were all stranded. Like he showed he cared. The whole line of like, oh, we're just disposable. He's like, not to me. We're meant to be expendable, rather, and he's like, not to me, you're not. Like I like that won over a lot of people's hearts for Plo Koon. He could be really good at like saving other clones, like extraction. Like I would love for him to have a command card that like takes another unit and like that's within range 2 and puts them within range 1 of him. So he kind of gets somebody to safety. He could be very much about the objective, a lot less about hack and slash, a lot less damage dealing. Certainly capable. I could see him as maybe one of those 4 or 5 dice lightsaber characters. Certainly he's no slouch with a lightsaber, but he wouldn't be as much about attack. Or maybe he doesn't have charge or relentless or something like that. So where he's just like, hey, he can fight if he has to, but dude, he is there to deflect, to protect, and something else that rhymes with that. Because then, but yeah, he could be more about the objective and protecting other people. I think that would be a really good use for him. And of course, if you're gonna have Plo Koon in the game, we also need to have we need to have Mace Windu as well. But let me go back to Plo Koon, because there's another thing I wanted. I almost forgot. I want to have Wolf and the Wolf Pack in there with Plo Koon as well. I think you gotta have, if you're gonna have Plo Koon, I think you gotta have Wolf. So yeah, I think that's like the whole idea. Plus, Wolf has a whole different kind of a whole different helmet, right? So he's got a whole different design. It's kind of that longer helmet, and so I think that those things just work together. One more thing before I move off to this and talk about Mace Windu, because I already jumped ahead, is that if you're gonna do Ahsoka soon, which Ahsoka is absolutely coming, I think you need to go ahead and think about the relationship that Ahsoka has with Plo Koon. They are, they're very close. He recruited her, and so I think that's important. I think we got to remember that, and I think you can build a character that has maybe some kind of, maybe not teamwork as a keyword, but more synergy with what they want to design Ahsoka for. And if you just leave Plo Koon in the tank with getting dodge tokens, that says, okay, maybe Ahsoka can do something with dodge tokens, but if you rake your own version of him here, then you can really have him maybe put out dodges on other characters and work with other Jedi, or maybe he does something else to specifically synergize with Ahsoka. I think that'll be a pretty cool. I expect Ahsoka to synergize with a lot of characters, because she's got relationships with everybody from Obi-Wan, and of course to Anakin, to even Barriss, who hopefully she'll show up someday, to a lot of other characters that she's been, but definitely with Plo Koon as well. So I think that's important. All right, so my number one pick is going to be Mace Windu. Again, there are a lot of Jedi, and so I feel like it's like, I talked earlier about how it can feel like all of the Jedi kind of blend together. At a certain point, as far as gameplay mechanics, but Mace Windu could kind of stand out, and he's still worth a definite number one spot on my list for this, because, well, the purple lightsaber is a big one, right? We've got red lightsabers, we got blue, and we got green, and we just keep seeing more red, blue, and green, red, blue, green. Let's get that that amethyst saber on the battlefield. He's going to be a real fun one to get out. Also, he was arguably the most powerful, right? Like almost single-handedly took down the Emperor. What I think is he kind of deserves, like, Anakin's okay. I'm not a big fan of Anakin. He's not bad, but he doesn't match up to like where Darth Vader is. Like the Empire has the Emperor and Darth Vader, right? And so similarly, the Republic has Yoda, who it serves a little bit of that emperor kind of role, like that powerful support, like that extremely powerful and expensive support. I think Mace Windu should be kind of on par with how Darth Vader is for the Empire. I think he should be moving around. I don't know if he necessarily needs to be that slow, but I think he should be very, very fearsome. I think maybe you give him 7 dice on his lightsaber. Maybe not all red. Maybe like 3 red, 4 black. Or something like that. Maybe you just give him a straight surge to crit, or maybe you give him surge to hit at least. But I think you can make him a very formidable dueler. He wants to get out there. He's chopping off Jango Fett's head. He's doing and like that could be a really cool thing. Like he could have like a headshot command card where he's just like maybe he just gains whole extra attack, surge to hit, and the ability to upgrade a die. In this attack pool, boom, just kind of like that guaranteed sure shot. Like, I'm going to take you out now. I don't have bounty, but I need you off the battlefield. Mace Windu is the one to do that, but he would have to be also extremely expensive. Like, I'm talking 200 points or 190 something points for Mace Windu. So, the idea is if you wanted to run Yoda and Mace Windu together, maybe they could work really, really well together. But that should be like more than half of your list. And then, to run those together, you'd probably end up with like a 6 activation list or something, absurd like that. So, do you really want to do that, knowing that one fire support attack and you roll bad defense dice could take him off the field right away, and then all of a sudden your list is hosed. I think more than likely he'd probably run in his own list, and he'd be that that centerpiece, and then you don't run Yoda, because like anybody who's tried to run like Palpatine and Vader together is like, well, there goes half my list, more than half my list after I put some upgrades on them. And so I think he'd be so much fun. I love running Vader for the Empire, and I feel like if he was a similar centerpiece kind of powerhouse character on the battlefield, it could be really, really fun. And I'd love to see him be that expert dueler, the one who takes everybody down. He's the one you send in to do all the melee damage. And I'd give him. I don't know if I'd give him relentless though. I think I'd give him charge. I think that'd be one difference. So but you make him speed 2 though, so he can still. I don't think he needs to be speed 1. Although maybe that would be kind of cool if you made him speed 1, just to slow him down. But the thing is, force speed is still a thing, so it wouldn't cripple him too much. It'd be fun. I want to hear from you guys though. What's on your list? There's plenty of other units that should come and should be on this list. I mentioned Barriss and passing. I don't know if she's that high a priority, but she definitely has a spot. There's lots of other units that could be on this list that should show up that I didn't mention, but because this was meant to be just some of the stuff I think that should be coming sooner rather than later. And a lot of other stuff should still be coming, but maybe it'll come a little bit later. We'll have to see. We'll see how many I get right out of maybe the next 6 or 7 things that eventually get announced for the Republic. But I want to hear some of your thoughts. Let me know down in the comments section. Also, jump into our Discord. We have a great family-friendly Discord. You can join, talk about games like Star Wars Legion, Star Wars Armada, Star Wars X-Wing, Star Wars in general, and we'd love to have you. There's links for that, plus all my social media stuff in the video description below, so definitely check that out. I want to thank you all so much for hanging out with me today. I will talk to you soon. May the Force be with you. Thanks to my patrons. You guys are absolutely amazing and help make this channel possible. So thank you for your support. I will talk to you soon. Have a great day. Goodbye there.